You want to buy the best camera phone out there and can't decide between vivo X300 Ultra or the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. They both have amazing camera systems, but vivo X300 Ultra has Zeiss branding, while the Xiaomi has a distinct Leica color science and a continuous telephoto camera. Spoiler alert, it is all gonna boil down to personal preference. Ammo, and together with Maria, I'll try my best to show the differences between the two. I'll start with the camera since that's probably what drives you to each of these phones. They both have a massive camera bump, but the vivo X300 Ultra is even larger than Xiaomi's. The main lens of Xiaomi is a 50 megapixel f1.7 1-inch type sensor, while vivo's is 200 megapixel f1.9 1 to 1.12 inches. So Xiaomi, in theory, will gather more light, but on the other hand, vivo is 35mm, while Xiaomi is 23mm. If you look at this picture with the one-time zoom, you immediately notice the focal length on vivo is creating a very different image than what we are used to on smartphones, since it is more zoomed in. To keep the photos more comparable for now, I'm using a bit of a zoom on Xiaomi to match the photos on the vivo, as you can see here. vivo X300 Ultra camera app has a bit of a redesign, but they kept both vibrant and authentic color modes together with the other filmic filters they have. Now, you can also change the undertones similar to iPhone. Xiaomi 17 Ultra, like the previous Xiaomi phones, has Leica Authentic and Leica Vibrant as the main color modes together with some Leica filmic filters. To keep the test fair, I use Authentic mode on both phones during the test. The Authentic mode on vivo is slightly more vivid than the muted colors on the Xiaomi Leica Authentic. The Xiaomi also tends to be slightly more contrasty, and this is something I noticed in both Leica modes. That contrast on Xiaomi sometimes makes the photo look nice and preserve the highlights, like this one, compared to vivo that has raised shadows. On the other hand, sometimes it can make the photo look a bit dark, like in this backlit photo, as you can see here, and I find vivo doing better processing. Both phones have a large main sensor, therefore even indoors, you will get amazing quality in the main lens. Even in almost no light situation here, in the basement, the photos turned out amazing with a very low shutter speed. Regarding a skin tone, I do like both of them. I always preferred my skin tone on vivo, but that's a bit of a personal preference. Before we compare the video quality, here is Maria in this specific lighting, shot on a Sony camera. It was around noon, and the sun was strong and shadows are harsh, which is not a great situation for videography, but nevertheless, they did quite a good job. Everything from color processing to keeping highlights in the background, and overall quality of the video is super nice in my humble opinion in this backlit video. The same when Maria is looking at the sun. Vivo historically was a bit weak in the video processing, but I really like how they focused on it in this iteration and offering nice natural colors. They also offer a really great Pro Video mode in this camera app together with Pro controls and log format. Xiaomi too has a Pro mode that you can use to have total control over the video production. I shot this video on both phones using Pro mode and log and used the default lookup table of the vivo and Xiaomi to color grade it. I should say Xiaomi default LUT is a bit too vivid for my taste, and I do prefer the one on vivo. Both have large enough sensors to give natural blur, but they of course do offer portrait mode for even more bokeh, and honestly the pictures here are simply gorgeous, and I have no complaints about processing. Before I start talking about telephoto lens, I should mention I also upload these photos and even more in Google Drive, and I put the link in the members area for all members. And if you want to support the channel, consider being a member so we can buy more phones to test and to upgrade our gear. For telephoto, the Xiaomi is a 200 megapixel f2.4 to 3 75 to 100mm lens, while vivo is a 200 megapixel f2.7 85mm one. Xiaomi's continuous focal length is actually very useful in lots of scenarios, and I really appreciate it when I was traveling in Barcelona. They both have a 1 to 1.4 inch sensor, and the amount of bokeh you get on both should be great. As you can see here, the photos look like they come out of a portrait mode or a dedicated camera because of how much natural bokeh I'm getting. The Xiaomi has a bit more exposed face, and vivo preserved highlights better, same as this photo. I low-key prefer vivo again. I feel the skin tone is better processed, but it is also a bit of a personal opinion rather than a fact. For my skin tone though, they are pretty much close to each other, and I don't find much of a difference between the two. Again, great bokeh. For this indoor shot, the Xiaomi has more magenta and the vivo photo is warmer, and I feel it raised the shadows on Maria's face a bit more than it should. On the other hand, here raising the shadows on vivo and exposing the photo more is paying off on the telephoto camera. Also, you can always play around a bit with the exposure setting and getting the result that you want, but note Xiaomi for contrast, vivo for raised shadows. For extreme zoom levels like 180mm, I do find vivo processing things slightly better. Same goes for this 30x zoom picture, where I found Xiaomi to be slightly blurry, while vivo is clean. For video with the telephoto lens, the Xiaomi is a little bit more exposed, but again, you can see how great the bokeh is on both phones, and they low-key look like a real camera footage. You can also use the telephoto lens on both of them to create telephoto macro shots. The colors will turn out vivid, and Xiaomi tends to be more exposed in this mode. One clear advantage of vivo is this massive ultra-wide lens. It is a 50 megapixel f2 1/1.28 sensor, while Xiaomi's sensor is a much smaller and it is using a 50 megapixel f2.2 1/2.76 inch. They both have a 14mm focal length. When there is enough light in the scene, the difference is not huge. You may just notice that the background blur is stronger in the vivo because of the larger lens. Xiaomi also is a bit more contrasty, especially on the Leica Authentic mode compared to vivo in this backlit photo. But indoors, you can quickly notice the quality on vivo is much better on the ultra-wide lens compared to what Xiaomi offers. Especially in this photo, in the basement, with almost no light, vivo is working like the main camera lens, while Xiaomi is way too dark. The selfie camera on both of them is rather small, and that's to be expected. But it does the job. I just hope all phones start to replicate what Apple did with the rectangular selfie camera soon. For straight photography, they are both great candidates since you get a good telephoto camera. Vivo has a dedicated street photography mode that is now part of the main menu. I absolutely love this mode and the unique color modes it offers. Another thing vivo has introduced is filmic video mode that is supposed to create a nostalgic vibe. It works pretty well with the overexposed sky in the back and filmic colors. That said, I always prefer to shoot in log and then color grade it with Fuji colors instead of using baked-in colors on the phone. I'm going to do more camera tests with these two phones, so subscribe to not miss that video and help us reach 110k subscribers. Of course, cameras are not everything, and display performance and other factors also matter. The good news is that they both have amazing displays with a high peak brightness and 2160Hz PWM. The Xiaomi is a 6.9 inch, while vivo is 6.82 inches. The Xiaomi has a 1200 to 2608 resolution, while vivo is higher at 1440 by 3168. Xiaomi has a 120Hz peak refresh rate, while vivo can achieve 144Hz in certain apps. I bought both of these phones with my own money from Trading Shenzhen, and I buy all of my Chinese phones from there for ages since the prices are better. I put the link in the description. The reason I'm mentioning this is to say they are both Chinese variants, therefore Xiaomi has a 6800 mAh battery, while vivo has a 6600 mAh battery. I did a full day battery test with them and did everything you saw in this video, and after around 4 hours of screen on time, Xiaomi had 60% battery and vivo had 58% battery left. Performance-wise, they both sporting the latest Snapdragon 8 Elite Generation 5 so you can expect them to give the best performance possible on any Android phone. On Geekbench, the Vivo got a tiny bit better score, but they both have over 10,000 in multi-core, which is laptop performance level. For graphics, I ran 3D Mark Wildlife stress test, and Vivo here too got a slightly better score, but again, they are both doing better than almost any phone out there. They both offer fast charging at 100 watts and 90 watts, and a charging brick is included in the version I bought from Trading Shenzhen, but it may be missing on global or European boxes. They also both offer wireless and reverse wireless charging, but there is no MagSafe back. Overall, buying the vivo X300 Ultra or the Xiaomi 17 Ultra really boils down to personal preference. I really like Vivo processing, and I find it more consistent. The large ultrawide camera is a game changer in a lot of situations, and I find 35mm a better focal length for the main camera. The Xiaomi, on the other hand, has this very useful continuous focal length telephoto lens, and the Leica colors are very unique. I took tons of great pictures with Xiaomi 17 Ultra on my trip to Barcelona. You can also check vivo X300 Pro if you want to save a bit of money. If you want to see how vivo X300 Pro compares to Xiaomi 17 Ultra, watch this video next. Thanks for tuning into Tecmo, and I will see you in the next one.